47. This is a Morning Cafe, that morning program that is always here to make sure that you're updated on what is happening in the world of news. You are informed, entertained, even as we discuss very, pertinent issues that are of importance to you. And as always, we kickstart the broadcast with looking at what the papers detail and so much more. We have the People Daily, the Standard newspaper, and the Daily Nation. It's good to have you this morning, and I hope that we have an incredible day ahead as we look at what then the conversation will be, even as the Court of Appeal, officially starts this conversation on matters BBI. What will be the fate is one thing that we'll be looking at after the effect of the May 13, 2021 judgment by the High Court that declared the Building Bridges Initiative Bill unconstitutional. And of course, the conversations and the ramifications of the same are on. This, of course, meant so much for the Kenyans' constitutional path, and so much has been generated in terms of conversation of the state. And so today we ask this pertinent question: what does the doctrine of basic structure, rule of law, and succession politics means for the public and its respective leadership and structures themselves? Is what we'll be looking at this as we wait to see what the 7-judge bench then will deliberate on the Building Bridges conversation. So karibu sana, join me as we take part on that, and later on we'll be discussing matters business with KCK on matters taxes. So make sure that you keep it right here. Conversation that is worth listening to and certainly worth following on, and also weighing your sentiments on the same hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela at TV47KA. I'll sample some of your comments as I proceed with the broadcast. Remember, the SMS short code is 22047. You can as well drop your comments there, and we continue. The numbers to call will be running on your screen. You can as well call live as we get to engage the guests of the day. So karibu sana, and like I have said, first things first, we look at the papers. The broadcast begins right away. My name is Linda Alela, and the Daily Nation, moment of truth as BBI appeal starts. Now, top political leaders will be following the 4-day hearing that begins today with bated breath, given its ramifications on their careers ahead of next year's general election. And that's a story captured on page 4. We all know that if there's going to be an amendment on the constitution, then there's so much that is going to change in terms of the leadership structure come next week, that is come 2022, and therefore that's the reason why most of the leaders will be keen to see then what the court will deliberate on as to this particular matter, because it's crucial, and then it determines what direction they take in terms of leadership. We all know that they've been flexing their muscle at this point of leadership of succession, just to see to it that they position themselves, they still remain relevant. And so when we get to the general election next year, then they'll know where to position themselves. But are we going to have an election? Also, others have argued that it's going to be a different conversation, and there are likelihoods that we would have changes, and of course maybe an extension of the dates of election, something that many also have vowed to go against. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has staked the law amendment project which proposes radical changes to the constitution, including an expansion of the executive as his legacy. Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who's the opposition leader, and his ardent supporters CBBI as his remaining and most promising path to the presidency, which has eluded him in the past. And the DP, that is William Ruto, who celebrated High Court ruling that declared BBI illegal, thinks that if passed, then project could be used to tame his presidential ambitions. What next? The aspect of timelines is what we'll be looking at this morning. A KRA tax move likely to raise cost of bank loans, a story captured on page 15. That also after the budget and so much of changes that play out in regards to how we handle monies in the country. And we'll be looking at that later on as we proceed. And another story, good news for teachers as employer calls CBA talks. The move comes barely 2 days after change of guard at the umbrella union, that is leadership, which saw former NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion replaced. A story captured on page 6. And we wait to see whether, yes, this will be a review that will be instrumental in making sure that teachers get that raise that they've wished for the longest of time, and also the adjustments that are likely to happen. That has been captured also on the Daily Nation, and as well the People Daily, the Standard newspaper, sorry, that 10,000 teaching jobs are up for grabs as TSC fills slots, a story captured on page 13. And also as captured here on the back page of the Daily Nation. TSC calls NAT for talks on pay rise. So all the stories, speak of the education sector and the changes that we now witness, as of course the next person is looked at to see whether he would be able to correct the wrongs that were made by former NAT Secretary General, that is Wilson Sossion, or make the union even better. Away from it to this other side, body to extend K&H walk-ins window, a story captured on page 8. Remember that declaration that had been made earlier on, should have been last month, that, well, there will be a limit actually, or a cut-off completely of walk-in cases to the Kenyatta National Hospital. It is meant to be adjusted for a moment, maybe as they prepare again to accommodate this and also make sure that all the Kenyans are not left in limbo at this point. Night courts plan to tackle cases backlog. That is a story captured on page 7 there. We all agree that most of these leaders, the CJs, will always come, and the biggest thing that they set on board as to what they would address first is the backlog of cases. At the point of waiting, at the point of appointment, they always promise to deal with the backlog of cases, and therefore these adjustments that they are making to make sure that they also conduct, court services or court sessions at night are likely meant to, address the aspect of this backlog of cases that we have today. Daily Nation. The return of Jimmy Wanjigi is the biggest story. The city billionaire has been our silent kingmaker, but now he wants a piece of the action in 2022. He says, I will be in the race, and this he told the nation in a short text message. How his entry will rock the country's politics is something that is still unclear for now, but certainly something worth watching. A story captured on page 6 and 7. We all know how instrumental he's been in the politics of the past, especially the level of the presidency, and now we see to it whether indeed when he comes in he would be a sure bet or a good bet for the people of Kenya. So businessman has been in politics since the 2002 presidential campaigns and up until now. Let's wait to see what plays out and how then it comes into the matrix of the Mount Kenya politics and generally the politics, knowing very well that he has been a great supporter, or a friend for that matter, of the likes of Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who still, well, hasn't come out clear on whether he's going to be vying for the big seat, but as his proponents would say, or his foot soldiers, Baba is still on. BBI fresh legal drama as appeal hearing starts. Attorney General IBC score big win on day 1. A story captured on page 5. And we look at that later on as we continue. Bring your own oxygen. This is the scenario in hospitals. An acute shortage of oxygen at Kakamega Hospital has forced patients, relatives to ferry cylinders to the institution to save the lives of their loved ones as the COVID-19 crisis in Western Kenya worsens. A story captured on page 8. Remember, it is important that you are careful, that you take care of yourself to avoid such scenario. COVID is still here with us, and the protocols that have been set by the Ministry of Health are crucial for us to be able to tame the spread of the virus. And endangered majestic Somali giraffe is in danger. When they are not being killed by poachers, well, then the meat is falsely believed to increase libido. Their habitat is getting depleted by charcoal merchants who cut down the acacia trees the animals feed on. This is very unfortunate. The giraffe right there, we only hope that we'll be keen enough to make sure that we take care of our very own animals well. Most of the people will travel into the country so that they'd be able to get a glimpse of this, and therefore it is incumbent upon us to be keen and make sure that we take care of them. In politics also, or some more in politics that has been captured on the Daily Nation. A crime of, Deputy President William Ruto, what Mount Kenya politicians are fearing, fear of crowded primaries in DP Ruto's United Democratic Alliance, fueling the establishment of fringe parties in the region. Remember, the Mount Kenya brothers have argued that at least they should get something that is worth for them if at all they are to support Deputy President William Ruto. And as the conversation has been, is that he's battling as to understanding who he is going to pick for a running mate. We can only wait to see. A crime of passion. Man killed cousin but gets off scot-free. That's really unfortunate. A story captured on page 4. We are told that these cases are on the rise because of COVID-19, and therefore it is important that we are careful at this point. If things are not well, speak out. Go out there and seek help. That would help you, avoid such scenarios. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, which way, BBI? The big battle starts and the stage is set. The players have taken their position and the referees are at hand to determine what could be the mother of all court battles. This year, we'll be looking at it as we proceed. Remember, it's what forms the basis of our conversation, even as we look at the aspect of timelines, crucial at this point. On matters health accuracy of Kenya's HIV tests queried. This is quite an unfortunate report. And 2 women sue they have sued, I guess the health sector for misdiagnosis and treatment for HIV while they were negative. A story captured on page 3. It's really unfortunate to even imagine that such would play out, and maybe you get yourself into drugs, yet you really did not have a certain condition that you are diagnosed with. 10,000 teaching jobs up for grabs. We've touched on that already. IMF terms on COVID-19 millionaires. The conversation is on if at all we are to secure anything from the IMF. A story captured on page 4, interesting one. And 65 billion for struggling parastatals. They have been given this. We hope they'd be able to find them, their foot back, so that at least as a country we can as well get them up and running. Remember, there's been this conversation that most of the parastatals are dwindling, and therefore the push for them to be privatized would probably be a good move towards ensuring that at least we get them up and running again. So those are the key stories captured in the papers. Let's briefly look at what it is that my team has prepared. And are you aware that among the Bukusu community, there is a special house, Namuima, as it is popularly known, and is dedicated for carrying out traditional rites? Well, our reporter Boniface Baraza spent time with elders from the community, and as he reports, it's a taboo for women from the Bukusu community to enter these houses.
The grass-thatched house is very significant among the Bukusu and is built with unique features, with the roof getting a special tuff of several indigenous trees that have cultural significance.
Hii ni nyumba yetu, inaitwa Namuima. Kwa Kibukusu ni nyumba kubwa sana kwa familia. Ni nyumba ya ahadi. Maneno yote yale watu wanafanya kwa boma wanapitia kwa Namuima. Na kila wakati wanafanya sherehe yoyote mpaka wapitie kwa Namuima. Hii ndio inachunga boma.
Ukitaka kufanya sherehe yoyote au kupariki mtu yeyote, hiyo ndiyo nyumba ambayo unaenda ndani na unamalizia hayo maombi na baraka zinapewana kwa yule mtu ambaye anataka. Na hiyo nyumba pia ukiingia, huwezi kuangalia nyuma na huku, unaangalia Mount Elgon, hiyo mlima yetu ambayo inaitwa Sayoni.
Namuima, as they call it, is used to carry out traditional rites such as cleansing rituals and dispute resolution. The place is also a no-go zone for women, as it's preserved for men who are believed to be the custodian of the Bukusu culture.
Mama hawezi kuhusika kuingia. Akiingia hapa iko na shida, anakuja kuambiwa hiyo shida, labda asai, labda akai kwa bwana vizuri, anapitia hapa wanamtengeneza, yeye anakwenda iishi vizuri.
The hut, which also acts as an altar for spiritual intervention, is built adjacent to the main house in each homestead.
Hii ndio kanisa yetu. Na hata wakati Musa alitoka Misri, tulikuwa na kanisa. Lakini wakati Mungu alimuelekeza kufika Changani, akamwambia wachenge nyumba kidogo ya kuniulisia. Na wanatembea na mawe mangapi? Meko 3 na miti 3.
As Mzee Maruti does biblical referral of the 3 cooking stones, the stones carry hidden meaning among the Bukusus. Beatrice Nafula sheds light.
Sasa tuko na meko mawe 3. Mawe 3 hiyo 2 ni ya mama, 1 ni ya mzee. Hasa mzee kifa, hiyo 1 mama ataenda naye afiche, kwa maana mzee atakuwa amemwacha.
The elders have cautioned the Bukusu community against ditching their culture in the name of religion and civilization, saying it is the root cause of the problems bedeviling the society.
Ni hatari sana kwetu sisi kujitenga na mila na desturi zetu, ambazo ndio msingi wa sisi kujua mahali tunatoka, historia yetu, mahali tumefika na mahali tunaenda mbele.
Boniface Barasa, TV47, Saboti Sub-County, Trans Nzoia County.
Well, how rich that history can be. Thank you so much, Boniface, for making us know that. Now to some bits of what is happening in the House of Parliament or in Parliament. 31 members of Parliament made no contribution at the floor of the House in 2020. They include Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and Minor Commander and Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi. A report released by Mzalendo Trust dubbed the 2020 Parliamentary Scorecard shows that the members of Parliament with zero contribution rose by 10 in 2020 compared to 2019, as Paul Kirubi tells us.
The Mzalendo Trust report reveals listed MPs Abdi Shurie of Balambala, Alfred Sambu of Webuye East, Makadaras Georgia Ladwa, Gideon Conchela of Kilgoris, Imran Okoth of Kibra, Kapsaret MP and ADP Ruto defender Oscar Sudi, and Rose Museo of Makueni as members who made no contribution in the House in 2020. Others have been mute in the National Assembly include Woman Reps Jen Chebaibai of Elgeyo Marakwet, Jen Njiru of Embu, Anab Gure of Garissa, Irene Kasalu of Kitui, and Amina Gedo of Mandera. Asha Mohamed of Mombasa, Lilian Tomitomo of West Pokot, and Janet Teia Kajiado also made zero contribution at the floor of the House. MPs Anes Kivai of Vihiga, Banisa Smalim Kulou, Said Haribai of Galole, and nominated MP Minor Commander did not speak on the floor of the House last year. Among the top male performers who made contribution in the floor of the House include Kikuyu Member of Parliament and former Chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee Kimani Chungwa, who spoke 203 times, followed by nominated MP David Ole Sankok, Chris Wamalwa, and Robert Pukose of Endebess. In the Senate, Nairobi's Johnson Sakaja, Samson Cherargei of Nandi, Moses Wetangula of Bungoma, Narok's Ledama Olekina, nominated Senators Fahia Ali Haji and Gertrude Musuruve topped the list of the highest contributors. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, Philip Mpaye of Kajiado, and nominated Senator Victor Prengei made zero contributions in the plenary. Nominated senators dominated the Senate list. Top women performers in the National Assembly include Millie Odhiambo of Mbita, Moranga Sabina Chege, Gladys Wanga of Homa Bay, Rachel Nyamai of Kitui South, and Kabondo Kasipol's Eve Obara. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
And barely 2 months after 5-judge bench of the High Court annulled the BBI Constitution Amendment process, well, a 7-judge bench of the Court of Appeal is set to hear the appeal. And of course, that is starting today. And we'll be having a conversation based on that. And the appeal, which has attracted 4 petitioners, will take at least 4 days. That is beginning today. And as Musa Salana reports, the appeal seeks to salvage the BBI process as the BBI Secretariat races against time to actualize the stalled referendum before the 2022 general election.
Tuesday, the 29th of June. The open court at the Supreme Court building will be host to the grand petition against the 13th May High Court ruling that declared the BBI constitutional amendment process unconstitutional.
Do we have any other counsel?
The President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Daniel Musinga, will lead a 7-judge bench, including Justices Rosalina Mbuye, Hannah Okwengo, Patrick Yage, Gatembu Kairu, Fatuma Sichale, and Francis Tuyoit, set to begin the appeal hearings tomorrow.
Na ninaomba wakati hiyo kesi itaanza kesho, hawa majaji wasikize kwa makini, waturudishie katiba yetu, sisi twende tufanye referendum ili tuongeze pesa kwa wote.
The appeal has attracted at least 4 applicants. In his appeal, President Uhuru Kenyatta has cited at least 17 grounds, the BBI Secretariat citing 19 grounds, with Attorney General Kiara Kariuki mounting 31 grounds to back his appeal.
The IBC.
The Wafula Chebukati-led Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, will be the first to challenge the High Court ruling that questioned the legality of IEBC, in which the 5 judges claim that the commission requires at least 5 commissioners to make a quorum and not 3 as currently constituted. In the appeal hearing tomorrow, the IEBC will be seeking legal redress on the matter after High Court Judge Justice Wilfrida Okwanyi dismissed a petition that questioned IEBC's constitution in 2018 following the resignation of 4 of its commissioners. In her ruling, and according to Article 250 of the Constitution, all commissions shall consist of at least 3, but not more than 9 members. The BBI Secretariat, which has termed the BBI ruling as judicial activism and personalized attacks against President Uhuru Kenyatta, will defend the appeal on Wednesday. In their ruling, Justices Joel Ngugi, George Odunga, Jairus Ngaah, Teresia Matheka and Chacha Mwita say that President Kenyatta had no powers to initiate a popular initiative. The BBI bill having been the brainchild of the pact between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga in 2018. The 5 judges have also declared the BBI task force, which was led by the late Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji, illegal. According to the BBI Secretariat, the 5 judges erroneously focused on the BBI task force and deliberately ignored the Secretariat and the promoters of the bill. Attorney General Kiara Kariuki will also prove to the Court of Appeal judges that their 5 High Court colleagues made a mistake in indicting President Kenyatta, the judges having declared that the president can be sued as an individual. The Attorney General is also aggrieved that the 5-judge bench found that President Kenyatta breached Chapter 6, Article 73(1)(a)(1) of the Constitution by initiating and promoting a constitutional change. According to Kariuki, if the High Court's verdict is allowed to stand, the presidency would be open to multiple legal proceedings, thus impairing the performance of the president's functions.
In the exercise of the judicial functions entrusted to me,
President Kenyatta is also set to defend the allegations against him in the ruling on Thursday before lawyer Charles Kanjama battles it out with the Attorney General on Friday. One of Kanjama's grounds of appeals is that the High Court erred in law by failing to hold that the use of public funds in the promotion and adoption of the constitutional changes violated the law, as well as challenge IEBC's signature verification exercise, claiming that the IEBC did not educate the public on how to confirm their details, making it difficult for Kenyans to use the online system to verify their data. Economist David Ndii and activist Jerotich Sei, Jane Ngondi, Wanjiru Gikonyo, Kalenjoli are among the petitioners who have cautioned that the BBI Constitutional Amendment Bill could be a threat to the 2010 Constitution. Musa Salah, TV 47.
Now, Court Secretary General Francis Atwoli has emphasized that he will push for the postponement of next year's polls if the BBI bill will not sail through, that is before the election. Speaking at the ongoing Eastern African Journalists Summit in Nairobi, Atwoli dismissed those halting the BBI process as unconstitutional and reiterated that the process is the gateway to the next general elections, as Lekishon Laban reports.
Speaking at the Eastern Africa Journalists Summit in Nairobi on Monday, Atwoli dismissed those faulting the BBI process as unconstitutional, saying Kenyans must be given a chance to effect the changes advanced by the BBI through a referendum to address challenges experienced every election year.
These people don't want to accept that their politics is pegged to their tribes. And stupid tribalists, when we want to work on the constitution, they move to court. If you are not prepared, let's not go to those elections. Because you either choose to die or to be what you are. And your preparation is only in BBI.
The High Court overturned the quest to have the Constitution amended, terming the process unconstitutional. In also what could be interpreted as an attack to the Deputy President William Ruto's presidential ambitions, Atwoli insisted that Ruto is not fit to be elected as the President of Kenya.
When I tell you so and so is not fit to be a president, you also come, you go against me, you invite the same fellow on your television, TVs. And you know the person you are talking of, he will be able to put the Central Bank of Kenya on his back and run away with it. Chance, son.
However, MPs allied to DP Ruto says no coalition formation will stop their ambition.
You know, Raila Odinga thinks that he can threaten the deputy president. We want to ask him to prepare his political vehicle. Ours is ready. Actually, we are busy doing recruitment. We are busy doing recruitment every day under UDA.
Kuna simama tangu 1997 mpaka leo. Sisi tumesimama tunasema ile muungano wanataka kufanya na Jubilee. Hiyo nyumba tulihama. Tunataka tuambie wale wamebaki Jubilee wasime stima na wawache kifunguo kwa gate ya watchman.
Speaking in Machakos on Sunday, Ruto dismissed calls for formations of political alliances, saying they have nothing to offer to the ordinary citizens. Lekishon Laban, TV47, Nairobi.
And still on politics, the County Assembly's Forum has moved to court seeking Section 22(1)(b) of the Elections Act that requires all aspirants to be degree holders declared unconstitutional. The three petitioners, to include Mochongoi MCA from Baringo County, has sued the National Assembly, the Senate and the Attorney General. They argue that locking out non-degree holders from seeking political seats is trampling upon their rights as enshrined in the Constitution.
We have sued both the Houses of Parliament, that is the National Assembly and the Senate, who enacted this particular law. We have also obviously sued the IBC, which is supposed to implement this law, and we have also sued the Attorney General on behalf of all the entities of government that might be involved in the implementation of this law. And therefore, we expect a positive response by court through a judgment so that the people of this country are allowed their sovereignty as granted under Article 1 of the Constitution to elect leaders of their choice. I'm one of those who do not have a degree in this country. And I feel that I am competent enough to perform the functions of an assembly member. And I have signed an affidavit to that effect, that if this law is allowed to proceed, it would lock some of us who were elected by the people. And there were other degree holders in the ballot boxes that we went through this process.
We even have members who have served 2 terms as MCAs without degrees. And in addition, we have even members who have served more than 3 terms as councillors and they are now doing their 2nd term. And they are highly positioned to continue serving in those positions. And they deliver in their respective county assemblies to their people. So for us, we want to confirm to everyone who intends to contest and also the members of the public that they should not be able to judge and choose their leaders based on their academic qualification.
All right, Chief Justice Martha Koome has appointed Justice James Wakiaga, George Duru, and William Musyoka to hear and determine the 2 petitions challenging the decision by President Uhuru Kenyatta to reject the appointment of 6 judges. Earlier this month, President Kenyatta gazetted the appointment of 34 judges, leaving out 6 justices, Joel Ngugi, George Odunga, Agri Muchelule, Weldon Korir, to the appellate court for failing to meet the required threshold. President Kenyatta's selective appointment of judges saw the Law Society of Kenya and lobby group Linda Katiba Institute thereafter filing a petition at the High Court over the cherry-picking of the juries. Now, we get to the conversation of the day. Remember, the key that we actually discussed this morning is on the aspect of timelines, looking at the conversation of the BBI and the fact that it officially is at the appellate court. We wait to see what then plays out in regards to the same, whether indeed reggae is on or not. This after the historic May 13, 2021 judgment by the High Court declaring the Building Bridges Initiative unconstitutional. And of course, this meant so much to the Kenyans' constitutional path. So today we ask, what does the doctrine of basic structures, rule of law and succession politics mean for the public and its respective structures? Well, the 7-judge bench has been constituted to hear the BBI conversation, and that is Judge Musinga will preside over the case that will be heard starting today and goes on up until Friday, at least 4 days thereabout. We get to know what then will be the fate of the BBI and a couple of things that were made or adjustments that were made yesterday. And so that's what we'll be looking at. We all agree in unison that we are not allowed to delve deep into this conversation because it's a matter before court. But all the same, on 2-3 things, especially on the aspect of timelines, I think it's only fair that we get the view of Kenyans. And for this particular conversation this morning, I have Alex Mwathi, political analyst. I start with him because he appears like he's closer to me. And it's good to have you this morning, sir, after quite a while. And then we'll... All right, we have Solomon Kuria, political analyst. Good to have you.
Yeah, good
Umenyamaza sana, sijui kama ni dossier unatumiwa hapo kutoka State House. Well, let's wait and see. Inaitwa dossier. And then we have Peter Mushendu, political analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, at least I had you last, right?
Yes.
Right, that was sometimes back, sometimes last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so karibu sana. And the conversation is on. Before we even get to that, I think it's only fair that we also touch on some of the key things that are here in the country, because BBI is not the only thing that we discuss. Neither is politics the only thing that we can discuss. We have matters of education, lots of adjustments, by the way. I'd love to hear your view on the exit of Sosion and whether the new face is going to bring anything that is worth to transform this key body. We all understand that, NAT is quite a huge union. Teachers are instrumental, even politically. Most of the political leaders will tell you that they go to teachers, trying to woo teachers. They know very well that they'll win the love of the students and the love of most of the parents. Sosion out.
When I think of Sosion, and more so as a leader of the workers' union, I can't but remember 2003, 2004, where Kenya had embraced what we call export processing zones and had established a very vibrant export processing zone in Athi River. This is the one that have actually gave birth to the Kitengela township, as it were. Because at that time, the textile industry were employing almost about 50 to 60,000 people within that export zone. Then the Textile Workers Union came in and demanded to have their say in terms of workers' representations and all that. This is beside the point that the buyers, people who came to buy, had more stringent requirement for workers' rights than any union would have. But for them, they saw numbers and they saw money that they could use. And I'll tell you, Linda, what happened. In 2-3 years, there were so many strikes, and the people that would have come to Kenya to buy withdrew. The dream at that time, because I know one particular business, had booked about 15 to 20 acres of land because they wanted to employ about 100,000 people. I can tell you, today they employ 800.
Wow.
For me, unionism in this country, instead of working for the workers, I believe has always worked against the workers.
Is that so?
100%, 100%. And I've been involved in Textile Workers Union, Metals Workers Union, Allied, these printing packages Workers Union. And in every stage, the drive is less of what the workers get, but more of what they get. And it's a sad thing. I hope that Sosion can sit back and look at his contribution towards ensuring that the teacher don't get what they need to get.
Wow. Interesting view right there. Solomon?
Sosion wept, and I think he was weeping.
I know. Would you not, if it were you, all these years?
You would.
Yeah.
From around 200,000 members to about a staggering 17,000 members. With about 100 or something million kitty controlling per year, and now with nothing actually, and the little that was left was at the mercies of the TSC CEO, Nancy Macharia. I believe Sosion made a mistake for joining politics. Okay, NAT itself is politics, but joining now politics of ODM and stuff, going to parliament, and then now teachers were asking, you know, are we going to trust you now?
Is it so?
You know, people in this country... Do
you think if he didn't get into politics, he could have been...
People in this country do not trust politicians.
Okay.
And that's a fact. So teachers thought our money could be going somewhere else. We could be contributing our money. TSC is cutting a few coins from our salaries, but this money could be adding up into the pockets of some politicians. And you know that happens. So they said, you either stick to teaching or to politics. So he was first deregistered as a teacher. He fought his battle, and I think he lost it. And therefore it was time to go.
Right.
But teachers should beware. You know, you don't go to bed with government.
That's true.
Interestingly. In any case, as I might support the government of the day, I believe trade unions in this country have played a big role, especially in fighting for the rights of the workers. I've seen teachers being delocalized in a program that is not well thought out, inconveniencing so many families. And therefore, if you are not in a strong union, you will end up suffering. Again, I would also like to seek TSC and the government at large. If the problem was Osion, he's gone. Now,
let's see.
let now not be and organize themselves. And also, for trade unions, the current trade unions cannot be compared to what we had in the previous days, where it was a tussle between the government and the trade unions. Today, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. Let's sit down, let us talk about the issues affecting the workers, and not just thumping and saying it's my way or the highway. No.
All right.
So let people sit down, agree. If it is about the agreements you have with teachers, fulfill that. Now Sosion is gone, we wish him all the best. I believe he should now go and vie for a governor somewhere. He is equal to the task.
He's equal to the task, yeah.
I respect the man. He's a fighter.
Yeah.
But sometimes you make mistakes here and there that are very costly. Very costly. Like that defender who made a certain team that I was supporting in the Euro go home. Sometimes you make mistakes that there's no point of return.
That's true.
It is to go.
Okay, yes. All right, interesting. I hear Matters Education, or Kenyatta University, I know Matters Education. I don't know whether you took that line, Mushendu, but here we are. Well, the education sector at large is one that if we start discussing right now, it's a Pandora's box. So much is happening. And even as we're seeing these adjustments that we speak about, that Sosion is out, and the fact that, you know, there are more teachers that are being incorporated, 10,000 teaching jobs up for grabs as TSC feels slowed, and also the conversation that TSC is now going to revive the CBA talks that were supposed to be there as captured on page 6 of the People Daily. I do not know what you make of what is likely to be in the teaching fraternity.
Well, I think that the current push and pull in the education sector leaves so much to be desired. First of all, I have to congratulate Sosion for knowing when to leave.
Yeah, that was very calculated.
That was very calculated.
Yeah.
That was very wise. Unfortunately, he lives at a time when TSC has watered down the achievement through Ambrose Adongo, was it Francis Nganga, the former Secretary General.
Yeah.
And I think for me is that Sosion knows that it is not going to be business as usual between the teachers and the Teacher Service Commission. And so many people celebrated when Sosiono was being stripped of the power he enjoyed, the amount he enjoyed to control. And it's going to come to haunt teachers in one way or the other, because this delocalization has brought a lot of problems. Today, I have a teacher, a friend of mine from Nyeri, has been posted to Kitengera, a school in Kitengera, suffered some back accident, and he cannot seem to get a transfer to go near home. A wife who has small kids have now to move to Kitengera so that he can take care of the teacher. So there is a lot that leaves to be desired in the education sector, which begs the question whether we got it right when we appointed the current leaders of the education sector. Because if you ask me, Magoha has no business being in the Ministry of Education.
So.
That's my personal opinion.
Right.
Because he has not shown good leadership traits, if you ask me. From speaking some BS to teachers in front of the kids and the teachers that headmaster is in charge. You don't do that to your employees. You demoralize them. You are telling them that I don't care what you're doing. When you do that to teachers in public, you're telling them that you do not appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
So I think for me is that there needs to be a change of style on how we actually govern matters education, because this CBA thing has been a menace. It never seems to go away. It never seems to be settled. Today, you have a country that has brought a CBA system that will see those kids who may not be able to get the academic part of it, of getting a degree, to go do structural work.
Yeah.
And then you have an IBC that is saying you have to have a degree. Where will that person who goes that CBA end up in? TVET. If you are telling me someone who has done CPA 6, up to CPA 6, does not have a degree, but he cannot become, because that particular provision does not provide anything called equivalent. So I'm saying there seems to be a disconnect with our education sector in relation to other departments like IEBC, because I think when we are talking about the Kenya Qualification Board, it is part of the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
It is the one that is working with IEBC to streamline the issues of degrees. So if we are talking about qualification levels of those elected leaders, the Ministry of Education plays a key role, because the qualification department is in that ministry. So there seems to be a lot of disconnect within the education sector that the president and the government needs to streamline so that we can get it right as we move on.
Couldn't agree more. So much, of course, coming to the fore. And now that this is in court, especially in the aspect of the degrees, I think we can also wait to see how then they're able to argue their case and what then the courts will deliberate on them. The other key thing that we discussed this morning that pertains to what has been captured in the papers, and in most cases, I look at some of the key things that are really important. From education, health is equally crucial. We all understand, and there are a couple of stories that have been captured as to matters health across these particular papers. On the Standard newspaper, IMF terms on COVID-19 millionaires. They say, I don't know whether this is matters health or this is matters money, reveal the names of COVID-19 millionaires now. IMF tells Kenya that, of course, is amongst the key things that would be, a restriction or condition before we are able to access loans and all that. Also, brace for increased flu, says health experts. But what is even probably a cause for alarm on matters health is this one that has been captured on the Standard newspaper. Accuracy of Kenya's HIV tests queried. 2 women sue for misdiagnosis and treatment for HIV while they were negative. And another one, bring your own oxygen. An acute shortage of oxygen at Kakamega hospitals and maybe most of the hospitals across the country has forced patients' relatives to ferry cylinders to the institution to save the lives of their loved ones as the COVID-19 crisis in Western Kenya worsens. I know.
A sad situation that we are in. That yesterday, I don't know how many of you saw some clip coming from Uganda. That I don't know the intensity of that clip, but it was showing that some Ministry of Health officials went to bury a casket, and people demanded to see who is in the casket. And when the casket was opened, it was empty. It reminded me of a conversation we had with you last year, a couple of times, that in this country, since the COVID started, would have a rise of numbers. IMF would come with some billions and the numbers would go down.
Right.
Then when we have eaten those ones, the numbers will rise again. IMF would come with money and the numbers will go down.
That's true.
And that cycle has gone on and on. And now, you know, the Western Kenya now, the numbers have really gone up. IMF have already started now talking about the next support. So people are making fun saying that maybe Uganda has gotten into the same cycle. It's learned from elder brother how to make some money, from IMF. When I hear IMF, my blood boils, because as a country, we should actually stay very far from IMF and the World Bank. In 1990, and I was already working, we had a dollar at about 30 shillings conversion rate. And IMF came with what they call structural adjustment programs that made us do a couple of things. And the dollar jumped, coupled with Goldenberg, the dollar jumped to almost 80 shillings conversion. You can imagine the level of inflation that happened in this country.
Yeah.
It was mind-boggling, to an extent that the whole textile industry in this country collapsed. It was the largest employer after the government. No, they even employed more people than government at that time, the textile industry. I'm passionate about it because I'm a textile engineer, and I know what textile industry can do to a country in terms of employment. So when I see IMF coming up again, and sorry, before I mention this, when Mike Kibaki came to power, he told everybody, Chisof, not interested in you, I will live within my means. And his support was hardly 5% from outside. He used the money that he had. In the recent past, what we have done, we have invited back these people who will make us poor again. They have no interest in us. So when the IMF mentioned this, the question is, should they be questioning us, or we should be questioning ourselves in terms of those that are in leadership, the people who have stolen money. Money that could be used to buy that oxygen that somebody in Kakamega is dying because they cannot have it.
Speaking of IMF, maybe to loop in, Solomon, is IMF as bad? And I'm told that there are times where, you know, it gets you to the knees and maybe you're not in good books with IMF. I was having a conversation with Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. He says, you know, the worst as a country you can do is be in bad books with IMF. And looking at this, we're talking about parastatal entities that are on their needs. And IMF is funding us so that we can keep these parastatal entities afloat. Is that a bad thing?
I want to disagree with Mr. Mwadhi on that. IMF and World Bank are among the most credible creditors in this world. You walk to them, you want a loan, they'll carry out a background check. What do you want to do with this? They'll even give you terms and conditions on how, before they give you the loans. The directors have to vote for which country, which member country, the IMF, to get a loan or not. So many countries do not get once they apply. But Kenya has always been lended some money from IMF. Right. Meaning we meet the threshold. And therefore that's why you're also keen to see, they are asking if there is an issue in KEMSA. If people have stolen money, they want the names. Just like me, I also want to see who are these people who benefited from money meant to handle such a crisis like COVID-19. Having said that, we should never as a country even dream of getting out of IMF or World Bank for that matter. Walk around, see the kind of projects World Bank is doing. In his county, I believe there are like, how many? 4 or 5 serious markets for mamambogas and the Juakali sector people who are benefiting from those markets. And I believe the cheapest is around, has been constructed at a cost of 240 million. Others going all the way to 1 billion shillings, like the Chaka market. That's World Bank. And helping people at the grassroots. That's okay. We should deal with our corruption. Let us forget about IMF and World Bank. Let us deal with our corruption. who are these corrupt people who are benefiting from the money that is meant to uplift the lives of Kenyans.
We know
so that is what we should do.
Okay.
That's what we should do. We should do that.
They're in public domain.
So no. There's nothing like in the public domain. I believe you saw what happened in Zimmerman.
Yeah.
The mob lynched 2 men, suspecting them to be children traffickers.
Yeah.
They realized, oh, this one is a mistaken identity. But already the damage has been done. Let us condemn this issue.
But we also agree it's on rare occasions.
Let us condemn this issue of mob justice.
Okay.
If someone is accused, let them be taken through the right channel. Careers have been destroyed in this country, and you end up getting stories like, I was misquoted, this was done to me against, I had not done anything. People, let us stop this issue of saying, this one, we are meiba, ama we are mefanya nini. Let us have that evidence taken and tabled before the right authorities to deal with it. Also, let us not also focus so much on KEMSA and forget that there are billions which have been devolved to county governments to deal with COVID-19. So when you hear of stories like there is no oxygen in Kakamega, walk to David, he'll tell you how cheap and how easy it is to put up an oxygen plant in a hospital. So if you are a governor, you cannot put a substantial oxygen plant in your county. What are you saying? Do you even qualify to be governor? Oxygen should be one of the most available components in hospitals today. Today, as we deal with COVID. So this is an issue of governors. And remember, health is devolved. And that's why, even when the crisis came, money was devolved. What did the governors do?
Yes.
They gave us the assurance all over that we are prepared, we have 20 schools, we have set aside I don't know what. But now when it comes now dealing with the crisis itself, the governors end up crying like just the normal citizens.
Let me tell you, it's been hard for us to get a hold of any governor that wishes to speak about the COVID-19 situation in their own, in depth, in their own respective counties. And Mushendi, maybe to loop you in on this, most of the times they would prefer to do it on podiums where they call the Council of Governors, whatever, meetings and press conference, and they tell us the situation, they say it's dire and all that. But when you want to engage them on a one-on-one basis to explain how they have dealt with COVID-19 in their own respective counties, you would not get a single one. As late as yesterday, I tried getting a hold of one.
Okay, I first of all, on the onslaught, want to comment about the IMF. It is one of the worst decisions this country has made, to go back to the IMF. Sometimes at the beginning of this year, the first bunch of the loan, Mwathi, we were to be given 271 billion, if I'm not mistaken. That 271 billion, IMF also demanded we must structure about 100 parastatals, either scrap them or structure them. Because of that mere alone, the day you hear IMF has come to a country, that country is on its knees. Because they are literally telling you, you have been unable to actually reorganize your loans. It is like if a bank is bankrupt, there is that foreclosure that has to be taken over by central bank, and either a committee appointed by central bank has to take over the management of the bank to either foreclosure it or to restructure it to be afloat. IMF is the same case. When you hear an IMF is in the country, it is because that country is unable to manage its fiscal management. That is a fact. We cannot run away from that. Number two, there is no way Kuria here can say that IMF is the best thing to happen to Kenya. Today, the US government that is also taking loans from IMF, the Japanese, today the country that has the biggest external debt in the world is Japan. But Japan, when they take their own, the the members and the citizens of Japan do not complain because they see what it is doing.
Okay.
Because today you walk into these roads, every car in front of you is probably from Japan. So there is value for whatever loan they are taking. But I will surprise you, Rinda, that we are given a loan more today we are given at 11%, around 11% by IMF.
Interesting.
The US government is receiving the same loan at 3 or 4%.
Yes,
now, it is funny, countries that require the break, like Kenya,
are the ones
they negotiate a very expensive loan, vis-a-vis the same institution giving a loan to a first world country who are receiving the breaks they do not actually need. So when he is saying that IMF is a good thing, they have introduced, I'm trying to remember the new tax. You remember when Moi Kibaki left, that tax was scrapped. One of the demands IMF brought was that we have to reintroduce tax. It is IMF that has forced this country to revise the cost of fuel upward so that we can meet the prerequisite revenue to be able to pay back the loans.
Yeah.
In actual sense, they are now at the driver's seat telling Ekulu Yetani what to do. So I want to say, as much as I sympathize with you for governors not coming up, and for governors at times failing to actually bring the best health care in their respective counties, I have an echo to pick with the national government. I was there and I told you last time, and I would want Kuria to tell me it is not true. When the county governments came, 2013, 2014, from that day, remember, health is a fully devolved function, leaving the national government to deal with the referral hospitals only. But Mwadhi, you'll be surprised, from 2013, 2014 budget, and today we have read the 2021-2022 budget, the Ministry of Health budget, National Ministry of Health budget, has increased instead of decreasing. From 2013-2014, every year, it continues to increase, including the last budget statement Ekuru Yetani gave the other day.
Yes.
Then I asked myself, why have we taken all the responsibilities, given them to counties, but we continue to increase the budgetary allocation to the Minister of Health in the national government? Yeah. What is it that we are not being told? Today, Kiambu County, Nairobi County, Kiambu County and Kakamega County received the biggest bunch of secondment of employees from the Ministry of Health. But the Ministry of Health never devolved the salaries and the allowances they used to do them. Today in Kiambu, we are doing 4.5 billion budget, but I can tell you about 3.1 billion is going to pay employees. These are employees that you remember, the MOH, the Minister of Health, the officers, the public health officers. Almost the biggest chunk was seconded from the national government to the county government. But the money that used to pay them remained up there. Yeah. In fact, we ended up giving the Ministry of Health more allocation than we used to give them when they used to have all the responsibilities of the hospital. The question begs, did we actually devolve health? Because what is devolvement? It is not devolving it on paper. It is devolving the responsibility, and the money that are supposed to do the responsibility must accompany those things. Another thing, one of the major things that the national government prides itself, it is the money they give to the level 5 institutions. How many level 5 institutions are approved in this country? There are counties today that do not have approved level 5. Today we are in Kiambu, we have three level 5s. Yeah. It's only 2 level 5s that are funded by the national government. We have counties that do not have level 5 approved by the ministry. They do not leave what we call conditional grants for hospitals. What are they expected to do? These are the same counties that the beginning of the Uhuru term, they forced the governors to go to State House and receive machines that have not been used. They have not been used. In Kiambu, I can tell you of 3 machines, we are paying rent for them. They have never been used. They have been put somewhere. So when we are talking about governors and their failures, I don't want to attribute their failures to just their personal capacity. Their failure is an extensive ring of how the Ministry of Health, the national government, is now the leading ministry in terms of major scandals in this country. And you ask yourself, why would you give someone at the national level a contract to bring containers in the name of hospitals when counties did not tell you they needed those containers?
Wow,
you are taking a container to Wetavie where building materials like are readily available.
Okay.
With the money you spent with the container, you can do a serious dispensary. These things don't make sense.
It's quite a tricky conversation to have, and maybe that's why health practitioners at some point, a majority of them, have said it wasn't a wise thing to devolve health in the first place, because what much is coming out of this aspect of devolving it is, something that is still debatable up until today. I had an NHIF official yesterday, and a lot of things came to the fore as to how much Kenyans are not privy to the information and how much NHIF can do to them, at a point where there's an introduction of a bill that seeks to get most of the Kenyans pay this fee mandatory. And the question is, how much will it come in to serve?
But
you better make this brief, because
yes, I'll make this brief. One of the major problems that is affecting NHIF in this country, it is whoever came up with the structure of remittance. I don't want to say he was an idiot, but I would say some idiots played some part. Because let me tell you, the least paid government employee, I think, receives 14,700 shillings.
And
that person remits around 1,000 and something. He's paid 14,000. Do you know the president, who is the highest paid employee, remits the same amount?
That's a problem.
So it's a problem.
Yeah.
But what if we said that person who is paying 14%, who is being paid 14,000, let us look at how much does he pay to NHIF and what is the percentage of what he pays to NHIF out of his salary. Then we decide. It doesn't matter whether you are paid 100,000 or 1,000,000 shillings or 2 million, but 3 or 4% of your salary will be deducted to go to NHIF. We will actually get what NHIF is getting 7 times. And this COVID thing we are saying we cannot give insurance to people who become very easy. Sometimes I think there is no will in actually bringing practical and foreseeable solutions into the public service.
And she would agree that they really do not have funds running in NHIF, and that's why it is hard for them to function as it now, but even worse, acknowledges that they lacks accountability. Let's close that one and get into the politics of the day. Briefly, what has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation: the return of Jimmy Wanjigi and Deputy President William Ruto. What Mount Kenya politicians are fearing: fear of crowded primaries in DP Ruto's United Democratic Alliance, fueling the establishment of fringe parties in the region. The DP is coming up very fast. If you look at that opinion somewhere there, what does this person speak about? It's actually on the front page of the Standard newspaper, somewhere there, where you
the
hand
Hustler Nation. This is his opinion, I think, progeny the current discourse. And I think it's obvious in this country, obvious, and I'm saying this with the tongue in the cheek, that a year or so to the elections, or in the last few years that we've been independent, there's always a heated debate as to the election time. This is also was even when we were one-party state in 1992. But this heat has continued to build up towards elections as we approach election. In fact, this is the first election that 1 year to the election, the amount of political heat is not as much as has been in the last three or four elections. And we know for a fact that we are not consistent as people. As politicians, we do it for our own selfish gain, and I was happy to hear Kuria saying that you can't trust a politician.
Okay.
That was a very, very, very instructive statement from him. Thank you very much for acknowledging that today for the first time. The fact is that we must create coalitions. Something happened when we went multi-party, and we realized that it's only when we coalesce together as alliances, then we can win an election. And you have seen 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, it's not the same party that wins. And people don't go to the next election on the same party. I think the only person who has been completely consistent is Raila Odinga. Baba has always been ODM.
Okay.
No, sorry, I'm wrong.
NASA.
From 2007.
Okay.
But yes, there was CORD and there was NASA. But as a party, he's always stuck to one. The rest have changed. So the hit you are seeing is that realignment, because politicians are not looking at what they can do for the people on the ground. They are not interested. It's not their job. It's not their primary role. Because the primary role of a politician in this country is to win, and the next priority is how to win an election.
Okay.
They have no other purpose in
So
life.
it doesn't matter how many
It doesn't matter.
outfits they will form.
So they are looking at what is a coalition, what is the formation that is going to happen. That's why you find some of them are quiet. There's some who are jumping now to UDA, like we saw Mushomba jumping the other day, and she was so vocal against the leader of UDA, the de facto leader of UDA, and now she's joined. Because in her mind now, she's calculating and seeing that this UDA thing will take over, will have a wave.
And that's one thing that we look at. When we look at UDA, there's so much fear of what will play out in the Mount Kenya region. This defection that we see, and you know, most of these key leaders from Jubilee run into this other side, or evidently saying that, well, we're just here physically, but it's just a matter of time before we declare our interest to go to this side. Are you not worried that indeed Jubilee has dwindled in totality?
Before I respond to that,
yes,
give me 30 seconds to congratulate Jimmy Wanjigi.
Oh, yes.
For declaring that he is running.
Yeah.
Now, the voices have started to come out in Mount Kenya. And that is what we want to hear. From Mount Kenya, we want to hear people
This would be
saying,
a plus for Mount Kenya?
we want to hear from Mount Kenya people saying that they are running for presidency.
The more they do, the more
not some people, not some people in some corner running for number twos.
For number two.
We have never been number twos because rivers do not flow into tributaries. It is tributaries that flow into rivers.
Okay.
Because if rivers flow into tributaries, they will break them.
If we were to trigger the conversation that the president wrote,
yes,
don't you think it would be unfair for us to even think of an individual from Mount Kenya again?
I mean, guys, we have suffered in this country as people from Mount Kenya.
Why do you say that?
He will go looking for a job at KRA or anywhere else. He'll be told, oh, my friend, you will not get this job because so-and-so is somewhere. No. Can we get rid of that and compete fairly on merit? Can you deliver for this country? Come out and tell us what you can do. And therefore I'm saying, I congratulate Jimmy Wanjigi for coming out and saying that he is vying. That is what we want to hear as a region. Number two,
he stands a chance. Now let's ponder on that.
Of course, this guy has been a kingmaker.
He has been a kingmaker. You know, most of the times kingmakers are not always very lucky.
No.
And maybe that's the reason why there's so much question as to whether Baba would be able to be president ever, because he's been a kingmaker, a good one for that matter.
Sometimes we can have coaches who are players.
Okay.
Yes. And one such case is Ryan Giggs. Sometimes he coached and played. So that can happen.
Okay.
Let me also say, number two,
you
have talked about
and coach, but you can't coach and play.
You can, yes.
Fact.
Okay. I will take you back to the previous to the previous Euro. I'm a good fan of football, and I know he is. When Cristiano Ronaldo got injured, what he did, he went out, stepped out, but stayed at the line, coaching his fellow players, and it worked. He motivated them. So simply, sometimes even Messi is involved in the choice of the squad to play, based on his experience and respect he commands in the football fraternity. So I know he is consulted widely by the coaches. But that is not the topic. Let me now come to Jubilee. We must be very careful with who is pushing the narrative that Jubilee is dead. I'll give you a perfect scenario in Kiambaa constituency where we have the by-elections. UDA ran a propaganda, that Jubilee is dead. These guys are dead, they're nowhere, they have abandoned their candidate. And there we were. Jubilee came down with a lot of strength. We did a superb campaign launch. Then they started saying, oh, deep state has come, the system has come down, they have come with a lot of might, this show of might is going to work against them. You know, they are crybabies. The party is strong, chama kiko imara, but I agree with Mwadhi. Going to the next level, what will work in this country are coalitions. And I believe you have heard rumors that there's likely to be a coalition between Jubilee and ODM.
Yeah.
And people who cannot fathom that, people who cannot withstand the tsunami that will come out of that, have started other stories. That, oh, you are taking us to Raila, you are taking us to ODM. They do not know what a coalition is.
And I mean, that's the biggest question. Will he be sellable in Mount Kenya? Whom are we looking at?
It is not
Are we going to have... remember, you've said so well that if you're a Jubilee Party member, you have said that as Mount Kenya, the biggest wish is that you see individuals coming out declaring their interest. Do you suppose there's going to be that space if Jubilee were to merge with ODM for a Mount Kenya region individual to again be at the top of the helm?
There will be.
Okay.
There will be. There has always been. We were there in 2002. Kibaki won, was supported by Raila Amolo Odinga.
Okay.
So that tells you there will be more space.
And just like Kalonzo, who would not support the same person for
let me say
three
this.
times, do you think Raila would?
You know, before you interrupted me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Let me stick to that line of
Okay.
thought, so that I put across my point and you get it. That you ask the next question. Talking about, is he going to be sellable? I don't know where people get this narrative from.
Okay.
It is self-defeating to them. If there was someone who was politically stinking in Mount Kenya in 2013, it was William Ruto. Based on the outcome of the 2007-2008 post-election violence. Nobody wanted to see him in Mount Kenya. In fact, songs were sung by that time by guys like Muigai Wanjoroge. They did some bad stuff about him. Songs that were very, very annoying. Once you listen, you get annoyed. You feel like picking a panga and getting, cutting down someone. But then, when it came down to 2013, President Uhuru Kenyatta came with him and said, whatever happened, happened. We are past that. It is water under the bridge. And we have agreed to work together. And people voted for them.
So what makes you think if President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to bring another character, then these people again are going to buy into this?
Let me tell you. And I will start by telling you. The most popular party in 2022, by April 2022 in Mount Kenya, will not be UDA. I can assure you.
There's a UDA person here. At least a sympathizer, not a member.
Because the players are just warming up. The political players in the region are just warming up.
Okay.
You start smelling the coffee now.
All right. Okay. Allow Mujendi to come in. All right.
You know what baffles me?
Yes.
And what makes me sad? At some point, Kuria was a subscriber of William Ruto. Just the other day.
Yeah.
Our major town is in Kikuyu, and we always meet up with
do you
him.
mean?
No. I'm just, let's not indulge into I said, you said, because you know exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
And those who live in Kikuyu town knows exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Just the other day. Kuria only moved to Jubilee with a promise of a job, a state appointment. He was a William Ruto sympathizer the other day. And what baffles me is that the level of sycophants within the Jubilee supporters is amazing. That the same people who are campaigning on the platform of sending Raila home are now the same people who are trying to sell you the same Raila candidature.
But there's been the handshake, and therefore...
No, let me tell you, I have always insisted, none other...
Where is Bonnie Halole today? Where is Bonnie Halole today?
Yes, none other...
Where is David D?
Hold your horse. I have said, and Decoram Kuria, when you speak, I shut up. So when I'm executing my point, give me time to do that.
But don't lie.
I'm not lying. I'm just saying the truth. I have always insisted, and I don't learn away from it, and I've said it here again, I will say it today. One of the problems in the Kenyan politics, they lack hygiene. Whether it is from whichever side. Politics in Kenya lack hygiene. Number two, politics in Kenya is not guided by principle. Because today, if you look at the manifesto of ODM and the coalition they were in, vis-a-vis the manifesto that was in Jubilee and the coalition they had, this coalition's manifesto was going this way, and this one was going this way. Today, it will be very hard for a member of the Conservative Party in Britain and a member of the Labour Party in Britain to join hard and form a coalition, because their set of beliefs in politics is a very different. It is like today you want to tell me that a Liberal Democrat who join with a Conservative Republican, they don't believe in the same set of beliefs. They believe in whole different ideologies. But because in Kenya, politics is not driven by issues and principles, that is why it is not hard for the same man, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, who stood on a caravan and told us that Raila was mad and we needed to take him home. He will just pretend he never said those things. So I
want to go back to the person who said that politics is a game of interests.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. That is what I'm telling you. Today, if you see anybody forming a coalition today, it is not about Kenyans.
Okay.
It is about their personal survival and interest. If today, and I'm not mentioning anybody, you see a member of parliament hopping from one party to the other, it is not about the
Why
interest.
then would you subscribe to the ideologies of Deputy President William Ruto?
You see, let me tell you why I subscribe to his ideologies. Because it is the first time we have a coming together of leaders who are not talking about tribal politics.
Oh.
That is it.
All right, Mwati.
That is it.
Let's allow Mwati.
That is it.
All right, Mwati.
And you see, people like Kuria here must understand some of us cannot subscribe to the sycophants he is trying to bring here.
You're lying. Linda, let me help you, and let me help the average Kenyan. Not average Kenyan, every Kenyan. To just understand this, that politics is about three things. And I keep saying this every day, because this was postulated many years ago, but it keeps coming up. Politics is about three things. Number one, personality cult. You create a cult after William Ruto, after Raila Odinga, after Jimmy Wanjigi. Now they are trying to do that. It's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do it within 1 year, to create that personality cult of Jimmy Wanjigi. And I wish him well. Number two is to create propaganda. And as much propaganda as you can create, and especially propaganda, Goebbels told us, Goebbels was a propaganda minister for Hitler, told us that if you say something continuously, if you tell a lie continuously, it becomes the truth in people's mind. That's where the whole word of perception is reality, because you perceive it, you believe it, and you know it's the truth. So you keep saying the same thing all over again. Huyu ni mwizi, huyu ni mwizi, huyu ni mwizi. You hoping that everybody would believe that huyu ni mwizi. But you who is saying that huyu ni mwizi, you're even a bigger thief. You're even a bigger thief. So now, the third thing that it does is that after that, now you go for mass seduction. You know, you're saying Jubilee is dead, Jubilee is dead, Jubilee is dead. And then you go seduce the masses to vote for you in an election. That's what politics are about. So if one side is saying that, oh, now the deep states have come, is a propaganda they are going to spread against the deep state coming in a strong way. So it's a political game. That game has nothing to do with you, my fellow Kenyan.
Do you?
Nothing to do with you. It has to do with I, myself, and I.
Do you ever vote?
Do I vote?
Yes.
I vote for only one reason.
Okay.
That irrespective of knowing the people that are in the front there and spreading their what you call their selfish ends, there is a chance, always there's a chance that an Alex Mwathi would be elected. There's always that chance. So I want to be part of that so that I can be proud when Alex Mwathi changes this country.
In most cases, we have the same faces that have been involved.
Not most cases.
No change,
always.
Anything. Always. So why would you want to believe that Jubilee President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's been a finance minister, who's been somewhere, would be against that? Why would you have that hope?
I'm a fan of the Bible.
Okay.
As a Christian. And there's one story that is told that is very powerful. Actually, the New Testament, almost 70% is written by a man called Paul. Paul was a persecutor of Christians, and he had a Damascus moment. May God help us, because that's what I keep wishing, that someone will have a Damascus moment and turn around. All is not lost. We are in this country, and we have to build it. So you have to participate in these processes with the hope that one of these findings, and I know there's a friend of mine that tells me that hope is not a strategy. We hope that it will change at some point.
Solomon, you believed in the Jubilee Party manifesto that sadly has not been implemented in totality based on the things that we do today. One of the key things that Deputy President William Ruto is somehow selling is what would pertain to the Jubilee manifesto, because he says there are a couple of things that were incorporated in this that were not achieved. But then again, he has had his Damascus moment, and therefore he wishes to implement those that were not implemented by Jubilee under Jubilee, and also add to that some more. Why would you not trust that this is an individual that means well for the country?
Treat everything William Ruto says with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
Because he's a confused man. If you have not seen a confused politician in this country, walk to Karen and see William.
It appears that he's the one that is formidable, at least as of now.
You see, now I am losing it.
Okay.
Let
me know, Campaign. All right. I'll give you two.
Yeah, to prosecute the point. Because William, at one moment, says, we have not been able to deliver like we delivered before hardship came. Then the next moment he is saying, hii barabara tumeleta na serikali ya Jubilee. Haya maji tumeleta kwa sababu ya kuungana na mkatuchagua mimi na Uhuru Kenyatta. Tumekuja kufungua hii stima kwa sababu tumeshikana na Uhuru Kenyatta na tukatengeneza serikali. So at some point you get confused. What is this fellow saying? Uhuru has not worked. He is talking about his projects. That's number one. Number two, he's the deputy party leader of Jubilee. He's the deputy president elected on a Jubilee party ticket. He has now abandoned Jubilee, is now talking about UDA. And then you ask him, and I wish one day you ask him, because you might get that chance. Ask him where he belongs, UDA or Jubilee. You will see the way he will baffle, and you will see a confused man.
Well, he says
who doesn't know. He was in West Pokot at a place I was working a few months ago. He was at Kapenguria Makutano. He was there and he said, chama ni gani? UDA. Kazi ni kazi. Then you ask him now one-on-one, where do you belong? I am still in Jubilee.
So I am saying the other day, he said, listen to what he said. He asked the people. He did not say Germany.
No. Let me make my point.
Let him finish his point.
What you are doing, Linda.
When we go to personalities discussion on a show like this, it beats the purpose of the show. Because I don't think. We do not intend to delve deep into that. But reality is that these people run the politics.
This is the point. We must not run away from.
Linda, I will agree with Mwathi. It is not
about him, but he is a character.
I'm saying it is not practically okay for people like Korea, who are used to go to other shows everywhere talking about one person called William Ruto, to come and entertain the same thing here. I did not leave my house at 5 to come and discuss William Ruto. I left my house here to come and discuss the nature and the future of this country. William Ruto is just an individual. We cannot spend our time here discussing an individual.
Point taken. Now you take that direction.
You cannot allow him to always keep on. Let him move away from the personality attack.
When you get
about issues that
when you get to William Ruto, both of you, when you get to William,
would you like me to start now and spend the next 10 minutes telling all the ills about Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta?
Definitely not. But the Hustler movement is here, and therefore we cannot rule out the Hustler movement. Let's not focus much on the individual.
You will not gag me. I'm an adult. I know the freedom of expression. Let me speak mine. When it gets to your chance, say what you want. Let me say what I'm not telling you.
We're almost taking a break.
I am not telling you to discuss William. I am discussing him myself. I am saying the direction he's taking politically, and I'm saying he's confused. You see, he's doing a damage to a party that I work for. I work for Jubilee Party. If he is misleading people based on that at one point, and then on the other point he wants to draw mileage from the same party, I must say, yes, I work for that party and I must defend it, and I must say he's destroying the party still want.
We agree. Fair enough.
From the same.
Fair enough. Hold it right there.
Have your cake and eat it.
Let's take a short break and then we come back counter the same. Yes, after this break.
Munisikize. Kwanza nataka kusema jambo moja. Tumepata mgeni ambaye anaitwa Beatrice, ameingia kwenye kikundi hiki. Mnafurahia? Huyu ndio dada Beatrice. Japo kwa kuna mama tu mmoja anaitwa What? Elvis, come here.
Washer Ultra Detergent, unlike your ordinary washing powder, is formulated with 3D enzyme action designed to remove stain, kill germs, and make your laundry super clean. With ultra concentration for that one handful wash, plus a smooth fragrance to put a smile on your face.
Kuna uchafu kwenye nguo zangu, ninashindwa nitafanya vipi? Kuna suluhisho moja ya ajabu, na ni nini kama si washa?
Hey, baby. I thought leo ni chama. Nini inaendelea?
Washa Ultra ina nguvu mara 3 ya kupambana na kila uchafu. Washa Ultra ni sabuni ya ajabu. Sisi sote tung'are na Washa.
Washer Ultra.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
All right. Well, the conversation, hata saa ile tumechukua break, I am forced to speak Swahili, was on. And I still have with me Alex Mwadhi, political analyst, and Solomon Kuria, political analyst at the middle. And lastly, Peter Mushendu, political analyst on my farthest left. The conversation is on, like I said. And as we close on this one, now that we do not want to focus much on the individual, and we shift to timelines at BBI, close the debate.
I just want to say, when I come here in the morning or I'm invited in a show like this, it will beat my logics to come and discuss the individual of Uhuru Kenyatta.
Would you genuinely have the same stand?
You cannot run away from discussing because they are persons of interest in this country.
Yes.
And they are in the limelight. That I agree. But we must then not monopolize the debate into that, just those individuals. We must ask ourselves, Uhuru Kenyatta as the president, has he delivered? Forget his personal capacity as someone. Today, what Kuria is saying that whoever William Ruto is destroying a party, this is the nature of politics of parties in this country. Which party has since 2002, which party has survived beyond one election?
But when the ruling party is in troubles, don't you think as a Kenyan you should be worried?
You see, if William Ruto is speaking about UDA, is UDA not an affiliate party of the ruling coalition?
It is, so they say.
At the end of the day, that is the internal conflicts of the party.
Okay.
It must not be thought that William Ruto is destroying a party.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the said Jubilee ruling party has signed a coalition agreement with that same party. So those are internal matters.
Would you still hold the same position that he is discussing individual if he was raising raises for
I'm just saying, I'm just giving, I just want to clear the air. If today I want to castigate Uhuru Kenyatta for proposing a merger between Jubilee and ODM, who is not a coalition partner of Jubilee, then would I not say that Uhuru is destroying Jubilee because he has never called for a party executive council, he has never called for a party AGM, he has never called for a parliamentary group meeting for those elected in Jubilee to make those decisions.
Justified
so I could be justified, but I don't want to go there. So I just want to say that when we come here, as much as we cannot run away from discussing these individuals, they are persons of interest, they must not take the center of discussion because there are so many things that are going to affect this nation. Today, we are talking about, I rush into the conversation of BBI. We are talking about BBI being in court and stopped by the High Court. I was here and I said this, that having gone through that document, there are things that were very important in that document. But for me, they were not as important as trying to get into the independence of judiciary. I gave you a story, I have given a story here. Sometimes back, I was employed by the former member of parliament called Honorable George Nyanja, and as we were going for the AGM of DP at Bomas of Kenya, he was arrested, and he was taken to Central Police Station, to Hande Police Station. Then we started the business of looking for Nyanja. We looked for him at 25 police stations. We could not see him. The habeas corpus that found Nyanja Mwadhi was given at night at 11. We don't want to go back to the same system where courts are making judgments at night. That is where we will be taken if we are talking about a judicial prefect. So when we are talking about BBI, I did not say that BBI is bad because I have said their proposal for the system of governance was not the best, but it was gearing this country to the right direction because this country does not have a majority community. Kikuyu is not the majority. They are just a substantial minority.
Is it so?
Because, it's true. They are not, because a majority is 50+1. In fact, our constitution says so. We do not constitute that. We are just a substantial minority in this country. Other tribes are the same. So there is no way one tribe will ever rule this country. There has to be a structure that actually comes out with a system that helps us govern through our diversity as a nation. So those are part of the BBI things that I felt they may not have been the best, but they were gearing this country toward the right direction. And even as BBI is being stopped, we must ask ourselves.
It's being stopped. Why do you conclude that it's going to be stopped anyway?
I'm just...
all right,
I'm not a prophet or something, but my instincts are telling me, and I'm not privy to anything in court and everything. I'm just stating my instinct, are telling me that today, the other day, Chebukati has said that there is no possible roadmap for 70 constituencies. That makes BBI answerable in Central Kenya. Because one of the major selling line of BBI in Central Kenya was creation of more constituencies.
That's true.
And if that is not going to happen, then we have a problem. So I think for me is that it is sad, I would say, on the onslaught, that some of the best policies that BBI had proposed is going to die together with BBI.
Okay, now that you talked about the IEBC, let's come to you, Mwadhi. And I know we can't deliberate much or in depth of what is likely to be the fate of the BBI, but we do not fail to speak about these key things that he raises. IEBC says that boundaries delimitation, of course, the exercise would not be possible before 2022 elections based on what it is that we see today. We have approximately 13 months or thereabout. And that then means constitutionally it would not be proper for us to even think of this conversation. Where does it place us in terms of timelines? Where does it place us in terms of what it is that the likes of Atwoli speak of, that, you know what, we're going to push that the elections are extended to a later date in the event that the BBI does not sail through?
Some interesting news. Tanzania have started giving the statistics for COVID-19.
For COVID-19, that's beautiful.
That's a great.
Thank you. That is beautiful.
That's nice.
Let's give it to them.
So they'll be the next in line for IMF funding.
No, sadly, that's a sad bit.
Learning from the big brother.
Just like Uganda did. Oh my goodness.
in 2010, yes. Linda and my viewers, we as a country give ourselves a constitution, and a constitution is a legal document that guides the way we get governed, and a lot of sometimes I wish that all of us could read that document so that we internalize it ourselves, so that we don't wait for politicians who sometimes are doing it for their own gain, so that we can understand what that constitution does. And one way to do it is not only even to read the constitution, is to align yourself with a few lawyers who are good. I have a friend called Elisha Ongoye. If I have a question in the constitution and I'm reading and I'm not making sense of this, I always call him. I want you to tell me two things. Tell me the spirit of the writing, the constitution. It says this, and give me the spirit behind it. And because they interact with this document all the time in the courts of law, they're able to understand. In that constitution, because of the situation we are in, because that constitution was on a basis of ensuring that Moi will never come back, or a Moi will never come back. That for us that lived under his regime, he was an imperial president. He made every decision anywhere. One of the greatest decisions was to reappoint the Vice President Joe Saitoti in a market in Limuru. Yes. Kama hiyo itaongeza chakula, basi nimesema aanze kazi. He didn't even say I've appointed him. Basi aendelee na kazi. That's what we are guiding ourselves, and I sometimes feel that we overdid it. But coming back to the subject of the matter, and I was laying that background that any conversation that has to do with this is best laid on that. The Constitution states the date of an election, which is the second Tuesday of whichever year, after every 5 years. Which means for us now, since we did the last one on 2017, the next election will be 2022 on the second Tuesday of August. That's fixed. It's cast in stone unless we change that or we become a banana republic. Number two, Article 89 of the same constitution talks about limitation of constituencies, how you can add constituencies. And it talks about it must be done 8 years after the initial constitution, which I think now we've passed.
Yes.
We've passed. And then after that, every I think 12, between 8 and 12 years.
Yes.
Okay?
Not more than 12 years.
Not more than 12 years.
Right.
So which means the IEBC, whichever one it is, not necessarily Chabukati's one, must do this before the 12 years are over to limit whatever. But it gives a rider that this must be done at least 12 months before the election. It's written, Article 89 is very clear. And it says if the delimitation happens within 12 months to the election, those constituencies cannot be considered for that election. We are doing our election on the 8th of August, 2022. We are in June. We are going through a process of court appeal, and I think that's why it's being speeded up. Then once the court determines if peradventure it throws away the case and says that, look, these judges were wrong to call it unconstitutional and null and void, and say that it can work, then that means that limitation will then start that process from there.
Okay.
Is it possible to do a complete limitation of the Constitution within 1 month? A lot of people think it's not possible. But in this country, anything is possible because we have an illegal deputy governor of Nairobi in office.
Well, the courts say that she is not there.
We have an illegal NMS running the town of Nairobi in concurrence with the deputy governor. So what
dictates something to be illegal if the courts proceed to uphold this?
What the law says.
Okay.
Yep.
Why would the courts declare something that is against the law?
That's why we appeal laws. That's why we don't discuss matters in court, but once they are out of court and determined, then we can discuss them.
Okay.
Are there any court decisions that are overturned? I can tell you almost 60-70%. Yes.
So it's my
this
opinion that
will
it
be
is
overturned.
illegal,
All right.
and somebody needs to go back to court and appeal
challenge the
against
same.
that judgment.
All
Okay.
right.
So that means that between now and August, which will be 12 months, actually end of this month, this month that is starting on Thursday, if the delimitation is not done by 31st of July, then those constituencies cannot be in the next election. And that's what the conversation that is going on right now.
Solomon.
Let me come in. First say, it is not cast on stone that every Tuesday of August we must have an election. And Article 102 of the Constitution says as much.
There's an opening
yes.
to review this.
Especially if a country is at war.
Yes.
We can extend for up to 6 months for a maximum of 2 times.
All right, hold it
Number
right there.
2.
Allow me to cut you short. I am told we have to fix your microphone, so we will come back to you. Let's go to Mushendu. Mushendu.
Yes, I think for me is that I have heard the propaganda flaring around that in case of emergency, we can postpone the election. But that emergency is very well explained in that same particular section. It talks about if a country is at war. And it is not about Kiambu being at war with Muranga or Muranga being at war with Nyeri. It is this country being at war with another nation.
Okay.
So unless somebody somewhere is planning to cause havoc, unless somebody somewhere is planning to cause an international war with another nation to be able to extend the date of election, then I think it is clear we will have an election on 2nd of August, the second Tuesday of August 2022. If at all somebody within the system is not conspiring to start an international war with any of our neighbors, because it's very specific.
Okay.
Those people who are propagating propaganda that COVID can be declared an emergency, COVID is not a war. It is very specific what kind of emergency we are talking about. And therefore, I would want to say that those people who think that we must stop elections like Katuari so that we can fix BBI, BBI is not a constitutional, it's not a constitutional duty that has been provided for that. BBI has to pass before an election. BBI is a product of two people who have agreed as gentlemen.
That has been endorsed by the Home of Untold
which you see, we already have a controversy that most county assemblies probably did not pass the actual document. Those things. So nonetheless, this is my thing. Even assume the Court of Appeal overturns the decision as Mwadhi has said, and he says that BBI was in the right course. Are we going to have enough time to do delimitation of boundaries? And the act that provides IEBC is very clear on the process of doing delimitation of boundaries. It is a process that involves the public and their input, and it has timelines.
I don't know whether the proponents wish to have these, proposals that are incorporated in the bill, implemented immediately. I mean, especially that one that we're talking about. And Mwadhi rightfully says that, in between, even as we conduct an election, we can still have the delimitation of boundaries, just that it cannot be incorporated in the next. And therefore...
Then I think for me, yes, the problem would be, I would not have a problem, Mwadhi, with the IEBC starting the delimitation of boundaries. Because of one thing, it has to be between 8 years and 12 years. So yes, we are already, the gap of 12 years is very quickly closing in. So I don't have a problem with, actually, I'm one of the people, one of the things I have always supported in BBI is the more constituencies because of better representation. But let nobody quicken this process for the purposes of 2022. Let us do it so that we do not get held up by the 12 years gap, so that these constituencies can become viable in the next election of 2027.
And when you speak about that, then the other regions are worried. I'll come back to that particular question. But first, let's allow Solomon, weigh in his sentiments.
Yeah, I think now it's okay.
Yeah.
So let me say, one, I repeat the sentiments made by the president. The Constitution is not a yoke on our necks. Number two, I think I'm the only panelist who has read this document, BBI. Because
You are wrong.
Yes, let me say why.
All right, why do you say so? The bill, we're talking about the bill.
Muadhi has just
we're talking
made,
about the bill,
yes,
yes.
Muadhi has just made an error. He has said, he has talked about even if we have new constituencies, whatever months to the election, if it is not an year, they will not participate in the next election.
All right.
But BBI has a provision for that. It says the new constituencies will not be affected by the provision of Article 89 of the Constitution, which says they must be in existence at least 1 year to the next election. We oversaw that. And we said there could be hiccups here and there, someone could run to court, and we will not be able to have had new constituencies within 12 months. But BBI says if BBI passes, then the provision of Article 89 will not come into play. So we can have them 3 months to whatever election or whatever, they will participate in the next election. If we have them.
This is an amendment into the Constitution.
Yes.
So if it passes at the level of the referendum.
Yes, if it passes,
at the level of the
Article 89 of the Constitution
is rendered useless.
Yes.
Okay.
That for that matter.
Right.
Number two, we have provided, or BBI has provided, a mechanism on how IEBC is going to conduct itself as far as the elimination of boundaries is concerned. They have already been given a number, it is 70.
Okay.
As if that is not enough, they have also been told it is 70 in this county 1, in this county 6, in this county 2, in this county Nakuru 5, in Kiambu 6. And they have been told the population quota is this. So go to this county, it is Kiambu. The point of focus, go to Ruiru. Go see the population there. At least you see you need a constituency there. Go to Kiamba. So it is not about the only issue
It's not
here.
about the fact that this is these regions or these particular areas that you're speaking about are rich with Mount Kenya.
No.
Individuals, because that also is a cause for concern.
This is not about Mount Kenya.
Okay.
This is about the country. Kakamega is gaining, Kilifi is gaining, Siaya is gaining.
But just how
Kisumu
much is the country gaining in comparison to what the
I can tell you, Nyandarua is not gaining a constituency. Nyeri is not gaining a constituency. Kiambu, you know, he comes from Kiambu.
I'll tell you what one of my panelists was arguing.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to make it clear for the common Mwananchi, because like you rightfully put, if it's a lie and it's being told oftenly, it's going to become truth. She had an argument that around 40 of those that are being incorporated, that are new, are hugely going to benefit.
I'm giving you facts.
The Kikuyu nation.
We have 5 counties in central Kenya.
Proceed, yes.
We are not going to have a new constituency in Nyandarua. We are not going to have a new constituency in Nyeri. We are going to have one in Murang'a,
right,
if BBI passes, and 6 in Kiambu, and 1 in Kirinyaga.
And look at these other regions. These are the counties that are in the country. This is the argument. Just understand me.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short. That even on these other counties, even if it's Nairobi, you go to an area where it is rich with Kikuyus. And that is the saddest thing. And I mean, I just do not want to encourage that direction. But that is what,
say that.
That is what it is that she was arguing. And if you look at what, she has some level of facts.
I don't know who she is.
Why is Moshendu, is Moshendu in agreement, or why is Moshendu in support of this particular?
Let's come to that.
All right.
Yes.
Let Solomon finish.
Case.
Solomon finish, yes.
When you say Kikuyus,
Or Mount Kenya people.
The BBI has not put anywhere that anywhere you go and find a majority Kikuyus, put a constituency there. No. It's about population. And even going by what Chebukati said, population quota 167,000. I still would want us to ask ourselves, do you still want us to go to the next election with a population quota set at 167, and Ruiru constituency has close to 500,000 people. Kasarani has over 500,000 people. Do you still want us to go to the next election with that level of biasness? And as much as we say that, we have to protect our constitution, it is rigid, it is cast on stone, do you still want us to go to the next level, next election, with such levels of injustices to our people? What happened to representation? When a member of parliament from Lamu West and Lamu East is representing about 20,000 voters. There's another member of parliament presenting representing 160,000 voters. Actually, that is close to the population quota set. So what are we saying? We must address these issues. No matter the formula we are going to use, we are not ready. And we are, when you hear us talking about Mount Kenya, for example, that's where I come from. And I must say, I have seen women and men lining up for bursaries. Lining up. And they end up getting 2,000, 3,000. Ask him. That is what his governor is doing, giving people 2,000, 3,000. It is not his wish. He can only do as much. Are we together? Go to other counties. Go and ask Aden Duale. My God is a witness. I have guys there. They even send people abroad and sponsor. Are we children of a lesser God? We must address this issue of revenue allocation to constituencies and to counties. And if we don't do this, politics is about two things, power and money.
Well,
Power
if you
and
hear the
resources.
likes of Kakamega
If
Governor
it is not
Oparanya,
balanced, if it is not balanced, then there is likely to be a tug of war.
Is this going to be a balance? Let's just get it from Wati.
The Constitution provides for delimitation of the constituency, and I've just mentioned.
Yeah.
It gives a timeline, so you don't need a BBI to do that. And the structures of how it's supposed to be done is exactly what he's explaining. He's already provided for, so you don't need a BBI to do that. The point I was, the point of the matter is, you pick such a nice thing that is already provided in law, and you make the main issue for a BBI that introduces a presidency, prime minister, and seats that are not necessary in a country like ours that is poor by the world's standards. The point is, if we wanted to create delimitation of the constituencies, there's a provision in the current laws. In fact, what we should have done is from last year to start igniting that to be done so that by now the constituency will be ready. The 70 or 100, maybe not 70, maybe 100, whatever the number that you want to do, but it should have been done even today. We don't need a new law to do that. Okay. The law is already provided.
I would say this. For once, I would want to agree with Korea in this sense. These resources we are talking about, well, representation is not just having members of parliament in their numbers. That is not, in essence, the only thing representation meant in the constitution. It is about even representing your people in parliament and the issues they need. But I'll tell you why the region, the central region, requires numbers. Today, there is about 2.5 million people in Kiambu County. And compare Kiambu County population with Turkana County, and you ask yourself which places need more hospitals. Because hospitals are built for people. So they are required more in Kiambu. Now, this is the thing. If it was practically possible to actually change the revenue sharing, we would not require so many bodies in parliament. Because we would just say, if we are giving 130 million to constituency, Duji's constituency, we will give 290 million to Royal constituency that has more population. Okay. But now that revenue sharing requires people, members of parliament, to pass it. And there is no way a member of parliament in northern Kenya will pass a law that adds more money to Royal. Yes. That is the reason why the reasoning is the only way we will deal with the equitable revenue share, it is create more constituency, add more bodies in parliament so that we can be able to change the law so that it can benefit people. So to that extent, I think we are boxed in a corner that the only way we can be able now to deal with the revenue issue thoroughly in parliament, it is by having numbers. Because today, as it is, the regions that are more populated, and I also blame the people from Central Kenya, Korea. Any member of parliament who was a member of parliament between 2007, Mwathi, and 2012, from Mount Kenya, squarely raise this blame. Because the process of coming up with the revenue sharing was actually taken to public participation all over the Kenya. I participated one in the Kiambu Hall. And I remember I was taken there by Nyanja, and he was the one who was explaining to me why we must ensure population is the number one pick when we are discussing about revenue. Okay. Today, the first business when that cake comes, Korea, It is, what do you call it? We first of all take what we call the equitable share.
Yes.
Take it back. Then we start now, the biggest share is started to be shared with other constituencies. Inawekwa, Turkana yote ni semi-arid. Inapewa the biggest chunk. Kiambu hakuna semi-arid, inapewa. Equalization fund is what has destroyed the counties that are populated. You receive rest because the equalization fund tends to go to counties that are said to be behind. That are said to, no, but you see, Rinda, they need to be Rinda. They need to be. Yeah. But you cannot ask Kuria and I, who are the biggest taxpayers in this republic, to actually forgo development so that we require. Today, the Turkana County, let me tell you, the Turkana County, let me finish executing that, has some of the biggest resources in terms of minerals.
We've not seen a county.
Let the government explore the minerals and get enough resources to develop Turkana. Wow. But don't tell me and Kuria, who are paying tax, that our tax will go to Turkana and our kids do not have hospitals to go to.
Now we still raise issues on morals and all that. I would want to buy into your analogy, but my question then would be, if members of parliament that stay from different counties would get more mileage, and I mean, in comparison to their fellows in Nairobi, then I don't understand why then we should not speak of a scenario where there is high population. Why don't we just give them more than where the low population is? Why?
Let us stop telling the horse to stop. So that the donkey catches up.
Politics. Okay, well, that's an interesting one.
Remember, politics is selfish.
Yes.
It's completely selfish. It's about individuals. The point is, there is provisions in the current constitution to be able to do delimitation of the constituency. We don't need a BBI to do that.
Interesting. Alex Mwathi, political analyst, who's the last speaker, and Solomon Kuria, political analyst, right after him, and another one, Peter Mushendu. We close it at that. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I look forward to see you another time. And we get into matters business with KCK. That should be after this break.
Munisikize. Kwanza nataka kusema jambo moja. Tumepata mgeni ambaye anaitwa Beatrice, ameingia kwenye kikundi hiki. Mnafurahia? Huyu ndio dada Beatrice. Japo kuwa kuna mama tu mmoja anaitwa What? Elvis, come here.
Washer Ultra Detergent, unlike your ordinary washing powder, is formulated with 3D enzyme action designed to remove stain, kill germs, and make your laundry super clean. With ultra concentration for that one handful wash, plus a smooth